Hey, welcome everyone to Wizards Outlook. We got Cardo Dudley Jr. here with us, Raymond Lyons, Wilson Tarpe Jr. and the Washington Wizards. They fall to the Houston Rockets 123 to 118. Cardo, we saw it was one of those weird games where the score was a little closer than it was. But the third quarter was kind of eventful, not all for basketball reasons. But your thoughts on this one as we see Houston leave Washington a 123-118 win, and this means that Houston won their season series this year with Washington. They only played each other twice.
Yeah, I feel like the Rockets just punished them in the paint slowly, methodically, led by Alphonse Lagoon and different mismatches, different switches with the Wizards going small. Obviously having Julian Reese in there, and they don't have a lot of depth of base, so the Rockets were just patient, and they just pounded them inside. If it wasn't through Sagon, it was KD getting a mismatch, posting up, Bub or Jameer Watkins. It was Amen posting up, Sharif Cooper or something. It was just picking a mismatch, you know what I mean, and trying to take full advantage of what was there, and it worked. The Rockets outscored them 62-40 in the paint. And then, I mentioned in the pregame, the Rockets are number one in the league in rebounding, even without Steven Adams. And they punished the Wizards on the boards tonight, 59-27. And had 28 points off second chance points at that. So that right there, so that's right there between the points and the paint, second chance points. That's 90 points. You know what I mean? Nothing else to really be said. It's tough to come from that. What kept the Wizards competitive was the fast break points. They 22 points to the Rockets 8 and their bench. But 61 points, but their bench got the bulk of the minutes, obviously. So you know what I mean. And then the points off the Rockets turnovers, 39 off of 21 Rockets turnovers. They was getting active. They was physical. I'm gonna applaud the Wizards tonight. They actually showed some fight. They ain't just give in when it looked like the Rockets were starting to create some separation on the score, where they kept competing. Got a little chippy in there between Jameer and Tari Easton and whatnot. But I like that, man. I always tell people, hey, man, if a dude is not trying to fight you on the court, then your defense kind of suspect. It's not really that impactful. At times the offensive players should get so frustrated where they irritated with you, where they want to get at you. That's how you getting under their skin. I like how Bub competed with Kevin Durant. They was going at it from the opening tip, man. You know what I mean? So I'm like, they just carrying on to DC, be more rivalry, ain't nothing with that, but pushing and shoving, hitting each other, man. Just gamesmanship, just competing. And that's what you saw us all tonight. But obviously, man, too much to go, too much KD, and too much Amen. Let's call it what it is. Amen. 22, 12, and 4. All right. KD had 30 on 15 shots. That's why he's the best scorer in the league and has been since Kobe kind of aged. You know what I mean? Since he's been the best scorer in the league because of that. Only need 15 shots to give you 30. You don't get no better than that, man. So, I like the way the Wizards competed, but they just ran into a better team that's competing for a playoff position, man, with a lot more experience, a lot of more big game experience, and you saw that unfold tonight.
Right.
Yeah, man, I agree. It was a good fight from the Wizards, and they kept pace in a lot of categories, but the areas where the Rockets had the advantage, it was they had a huge advantage. Cause they already broke down the what they did to them on the boards and inside the paint. They also doubled them up in free throws. The Rockets was 24-28. The Wizards was 11-14. That's just a reflection of the Rockets being more dominant, aggressive on the inside, and it was just too much for the Wizards to overcome. The second quarter, it kind of looked like the Rockets was about to run away with it. Wizards came out in the third quarter, and they didn't lay down, which is a good sign. Typically, the way this thing goes is the opposing team, they kind of start stretching the lead out a little bit, and the Wizards don't punch back. Tonight they did, figuratively and literally. So, it's good to see them kind of have a pulse for lack of a better word. So yeah, man. But like I pointed out, it's a team trying to gear up for the playoffs and a team trying to gear up for the lottery, and that's what showed up tonight.
Yeah, like the free throw discrepancy that was apparent early on in this one. Before the Wizards got their first free throw, the Houston got to the line damn near 10 times early on. And then the other thing Washington had going for them, they really shot the three ball well for most of the game. They most of their misses from three came, in the second half and whatnot. But like you guys said, you essentially played the Rockets without any true bigs on the floor. Şengün did what you're supposed to do when you don't have, a comparable NBA big on the floor with him. I don't know how many times the second half, Cordell, we watch him miss, like, at times just not get stuck, but kind of throw the ball up there, knowing he's going to be the first one to the ball to tip it back in. That happened numerous times in the second half. But, before our men went out, he was disruptive as hell on offensive glass. They just getting downhill. He started a little slow. I think he started 1 of 5. And then he just, his activity, he just started to – he worked his way into having a really decent game. But I don't really have too much more to add, as you guys already laid it all out. Player of the game for you guys?
I think I got to go to Alpine Şengün, because he just set the tone from jumping. He was just a mismatch the Wizards couldn't really deal with, man. He was it was Childs playing the paint, man. I mean, like Julian Reese got his NBA debut. There's a lot of lessons in this one. A lot of lessons. Oh, and I'm gotta give Reese Shepard a shout out, man.
Yes.
19 points, 10 assists, 6 steals, man. 7 or 8. He didn't shoot particularly well, but I think a lot of his misses came at the end when the game was already in hand. But yeah, he was balling, man. He was getting it done. But yeah, Alpine for me.
Right, different candidate, or you going with Alpi as well?
I was fighting between Şengün and KD, but KD was kind of in cruise control. It's crazy to say because he's still at 30, but Şengün, like Ardell said, man, he did the dirty work on the inside that really kind of gave Rockets control of the game.
Yeah, I'm right with you guys. Cardell, you said in past times, sometimes people, some teams come out and make it easy. They made it clear, first couple possessions, there's a mismatch inside with Alpi. We going to just throw the ball down there until the game's over. Like, we're not going to make this. We're not going to make 1 + 1 = 5. They were like, it's going to equal 2 the entire night. And Houston just kept throwing that ball down inside. And, it worked. Xfactor for you guys.
For me, Amen Thompson. Because of what he did on both ends of the floor, 22, 12, and 4. And he left the game, he rolled his ankle 30 minutes. But the Wizards starting backcourt, 6 of 20. 6 of 20. Amen. He was on all of them. Keyshawn, 5 of 13. He sprained his elbow. Amen had a lot to do with that. He was all over them boys, man. So what he did defensively, and then how he handled things as far as being he was basically point guard, starting at point guard, working on the triple double before he went out with injury. I think he left with like 8 minutes left in the fourth, so it was well within reach. He was definitely X factor. Just his overall impact, man. Young fella getting better and better.
Right.
I went Reed Shepard. I just, he 19, 10, 7, 6 steals. He just kind of he covered a lot of bases tonight. But yeah, proud to feel because Amen was definitely disruptive in a whole lot of ways.
Oh yeah, Amen shot 6. He was 10 to 15 from the field. Like it was ridiculous what he was doing out there.
Yeah, I think I went Amen, and like you said, Cardell, you can't leave this game without mentioning Reed. Those two youngsters, we know how important it. After Van Vliet went down before the year started, we know how important those two youngsters are going to be. We're on the other side of the All-Star break, and you're seeing them little by little kind of just continue to take steps as Houston goes forward. And tonight, I thought they were huge. Obviously, Reed missed a bunch of shots tonight, but the 7 rebounds, matter. Like those two guards, what is that? 19 boards between the two guards? Between the men and Reed? Because the men I think had 12. So there's 19 rebounds from two young guards. 6 steals from Reed, which was absurd. And like you said, Cardell, yeah, both of them flirting with triple doubles. Reed fell short of it, and the men didn't get a chance because he left the game, as you mentioned, with about 8 minutes left. He might have got that. But yeah, good night for both of those young fellas for Houston. For Washington up next, they got the Jazz later this week. But tomorrow night they're on the road in Orlando. So we'll check it with you guys then for Wizards pregame and outlook tomorrow night as Washington heads down south to take on the Orlando Magic.